What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Ever since the WBC, who's basically headed by Mauricio Suleiman, ordered that the winner of Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder 3 must face WBC interim heavyweight champion Dillian Whyte next. Now, Dillian Whyte was going to take an optional defense against Otto Wallin. As we know, he pulled out of that fight, in my opinion, due to a fugazi shoulder injury. I don't believe the shoulder was hurt enough for him to pull out of the fight. Not to say he didn't have something going on with his shoulder. As I told you in many videos, all fighters go into their fights dealing with some type of injury. But they're warriors, and they do what they got to do to get in that ring and put on the best performance possible. Dillian Whyte wasn't willing to do that. He knew he had a big money fight on the horizon with Tyson, the Gypsy King Fury, because he did come out victorious in the Deontay Wilder trilogy in one of the greatest heavyweight title fights in boxing history. With all that being said, the WBC threw a curveball. You know when the batter is looking for the fastball, you throw him the curveball and then you freeze the batter? That's basically what the WBC did to Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearn. He froze them. They threw the curveball at him and said, hold up, we're not going to order nothing until we get this arbitration settled. You suing us. Dillian Whyte was in his feelings, upset that he had been mandatory for 1,432 days. Which is a lie in itself, which is fake news. He ain't been no mandatory. He's been the #1 contender for a minute. I can give him that, but being #1 contender in a particular organization and being mandatory contender in a particular organization is two different things, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's where we get these casual boxing fans, and they get out here and start lying and, you know, putting out that propaganda. Eddie Hearn know it himself, but he let the people put it out there because it's going to benefit him and his column, him and his fighter, make it look like they the boogeyman of the heavyweight division, and nothing could be further from the truth. That's not the case. He ain't been no mandatory for no 1,432 days. Tyson Fury did an interview saying he ain't been my mandatory. I just became champion, and he really wasn't Deontay Wilder's mandatory. When Deontay Wilder defended his title 10 times, not one time during that title reign, that title defenses was Dillian Whyte his mandatory. Dillian Whyte was his #1 contender. Now the WBC finally came around to ordering Tyson Fury to begin negotiations with Dillian Whyte. But the problem with that is, it's hard to negotiate something when you don't know the purse split. Again, let's go back to the arbitration. Let's go back to Dillian Whyte actually suing the WBC. And that's part of the lawsuit that he has with the WBC is he wants a 55-45 split. He believes that should be the split for an interim WBC champion. He felt he's waited so long that he should get a higher percentage than what's usually obligated to the mandatory challenger in the WBC. Bob Arum, on the other hand, wants an 80-20 split. He believes that you, based on what Tyson Fury earned in his last 3 fights, which were with Deontay Wilder, and based on what Dillian Whyte earned in his last 3 fights, it should be more closer to an 80-20 split. So he has a good argument, in my opinion, in that regard, if you base it on what both guys are earning. See, Eddie Hearn want to make it like Dillian Whyte is some big draw, some mega star. He's a big star over there in the UK. He does decent numbers over there in the UK as far as when he's fighting on Sky pay-per-view. Now he's on the Zone now, so I don't know what the numbers he's doing since he fought on the Zone. I believe that last fight with vacant, which was a rematch, I believe that fight was on the Zone. You know, the Zone don't release their numbers. Eddie Hearn is always talking about other people's pay-per-view numbers. Why don't you release your numbers? Clean up your own house before you try to go over here and tell me how to run my house. You know what I'm saying? Or try to expose me and what I'm doing in my house, and your house is dirty. One of the dirtiest and filthiest houses on the block. But you want to tell me how I clean up my house? You know what I'm saying? That's what Eddie Hearn does. He does Eddie Hearn type of things. You know, I've told you guys that on a consistent basis, and it's a true statement. Make no mistake about it. With all that being said, Bob Arum has came out just the other day. Let me get over and said that If we don't get no deal done with Dillian Whyte, we'll move on. We'll be willing to vacate the WBC title. Okay? We'll be willing to vacate the WBC title because Tyson Fury still holds a status even with the say he does vacate the WBC title. He still is the Ring Magazine heavyweight champion. He is the self-proclaimed lineal heavyweight champion. So we'll just defend those titles and status. It's really one title. That lineal title ain't no title. Ain't no title you can put around your waist. That's a lineal title. Yeah, no. And we'll just put that on the line, possibly against Andy Ruiz Jr. Now, the reason why Andy Ruiz Jr. is coming into the picture coming into the fold is he is a big name here in the United States. They can put that on pay-per-view on ESPN. He can do big numbers. They can draw in the consistent fan base that's supported boxing for a long time now. One of the people that you really can count on. One of the rabid fan base, that being the Latino fan base. They can bring that in. Or maybe they can take on a Joy Joyce. That fight will be there to happen in the UK if they can't get the fight with Dillian Whyte, which they want to stage in the UK. That could be another possible opponent. With all that being said, Bob Arum don't want to take a chance of losing the purse bid to Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn still in that fight away from Top Rank Boxing and taking it on to DAZN and therefore stealing away from ESPN. That's the main reason why he made that statement. Another reason why he made that statement is for leverage. He believes that Dillian Whyte and his team are asking for outrageous demands, want a higher purse bid than Bob Arum believes they deserve. So he's trying to use leverage, saying, look here, we ain't got to fight you. We can vacate the WBC title. We're still the Ring Magazine heavyweight champion. We're still a lineal heavyweight champion. We can still go fight Andy Ruiz Jr., which probably is a bigger fight in the United States than a fight between Fury and Dillian Whyte. So they're using that as leverage. We'll see what to be the next move by Team Dillian Whyte, led by Eddie Hearn. You know, be interested to see when he does the interview what he got to say about the recent statements that Bob Arum has made. But Eddie Hearn can stay steadfast in his position. Say, look here, we don't get 55-45 or something close to 55-45, we're not going to take the fight. Because he's already been out here doing these interviews saying that Dillian Whyte has a commercial value that is one of the tops in the sport of boxing, I guess. He keeps saying the commercial value of Dillian Whyte. I didn't know Dillian Whyte was this great commercial star. I guess he is over there in the UK, but he damn sure ain't here in the United States. But he keep talking about commercial value and that stuff, trying to throw those words out there, trying to make Dillian Whyte look like a bigger fighter than what he is. If I was the interviewer, every time he throw commercial value, I'd be like, what do you mean, Eddie? Commercial value? What do you mean? He's doing commercials or something? He's out doing commercials and stuff. He's got a national commercial out that people be watching and stuff like that. What do you mean by commercial value? He's a good fighter. He does good numbers over there in the UK. He's on Sky pay-per-view over there. He was on there. Now he's on DAZN. They say in Eddie Hearn, he never released a number. He said he was doing good numbers over there with the Joseph Parker fight and the Derek Chisora fights that he took. He did some good pay-per-view numbers over there. I haven't seen any of the numbers. So, you know, with Eddie Hearn, you know, you call, you know, him, he'll put some stuff out there, you know, and people won't call him out on it or give him some kind of, you know, say challenge him on that, and they just kind of just go with what he says. But I'm going to take it at face value and say he does do good numbers. He probably is the second biggest pay-per-view star over there in the UK behind Anthony Joshua. So I do believe that. But what type of numbers he actually doing? Based on what he made in his last 3 fights, man, he shouldn't be getting no 55-45. Based on what he made in his last 3 fights and based on what Tyson Fury made in his last 3 fights. So we will see what happens and we will see what transpires. But with all this being said, what this could lead to is Tyson Fury vacating the WBC belt. And then the WBC calling on Dillian Whyte to take on #1 contender in the WBC. Deontay, the Bronze Bomber Wilder. They fight for the vacant WBC title. That would be a great fight. Eddie Hearn's been trying to make this fight for the last 3 to 4 years. That's a fight he actually wanted to make instead of the AJ Wilder fight. And that could be something that will sell here over in the United States, unlike what Fury and Dillian Whyte would do over here in the United States. It's a decent fight, but it's a big fight over in the UK, but it's not a big fight here in the United States. That would be a big fight here in the United States and be a big fight there over in the UK. So Eddie Hearn wouldn't be mad at that. Make no mistake about it. That's why he's sitting in my opinion, the catbird seat, because either he gonna get what he want, that being fight going to purse bid, and he gets to fight over here on DAZN, and him being the lead promoter, or Fury vacates and he still gets the fight that he always wanted. That's Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder. Now, will that fight go to purse bid, or would Eddie Hearn be willing to work with the PBC? I doubt that. If he'd be willing to work with the PBC, I doubt that very seriously. So that fight in all likelihood will have to go to the PBC. Eddie Hearn will take his chances on bidding and getting that fight over in the UK, getting that fight over on the zone, and he'll go into a purse bid with Al Haymon in the PBC. Probably be basically going head up with the TGB promotion. That seems to be the lead promoter for Al Haymon in the PBC. Even if the fight gets over with the PBC, Eddie Hearn still probably wouldn't have no problem with putting that fight on. That fight would be a big fight over on either Fox pay-per-view or Showtime pay-per-view. Eddie Hearn would be part of a Deontay Wilder's mega fight, which he wanted to happen 3 or 4 years ago with his fighter Dillian Whyte, and he would be happy either way, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts about the heavyweight division. Musical chairs. When the music stops, where will everybody be sitting? Whole lot of moving parts, a whole lot of different scenarios that can play out. Let me know your thoughts. I think the most likely scenario is either they come to an agreement, that being Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury, and then don't go to purse bid, or the fight goes to purse bid, Fury vacates, Fury fights Andy Ruiz or George Joyce, and Dillian Whyte and Deontay Wilder fights. So I think that's the 2 likely scenarios. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see what transpires, and we will see what happens. Let me know your thoughts and hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I'll holla.